University of Idaho has one of the best cybersecurity programs in the country. So it's really appropriate that we have this time together. Before we get started and jump into the conversation, I want to thank our great partners for this program, and that's Payne West Insurance. And they're providing a $50 gift card to the Vandal store in a drawing at the end of the program. So everyone present is in the pool to win. You have to be present to win. So don't sign off early or you won't be eligible for the drawing. Also, if you have questions for Jim, and I'm sure you will, because it's a big, big topic, just put them in the chat, and my coworkers, Sandy Larson and Christy Overfelt, will help us field those. I want to take one moment and just welcome Larry Stauffer. He's the Dean of the College of Engineering, and I just want to say thanks for joining us. Larry, this is a great program in the College of Engineering, and we're happy to feature it. So welcome, Larry. I'm glad you're here. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Jim Alves Foss. He joined the University of Idaho in the fall of 1991 after he earned his PhD at UC Davis. He actually taught U of I's first cybersecurity course in the spring of 1992. 7 years later, he co-founded what we call the Center for Secure and Dependable Systems, which is a research unit within the College of Engineering. That same year, he helped U of I obtain a National Security Agency designation as a Center for Academic Excellence in Information Assurances Education. We were only one of the first 7 centers like that in the nation at the time, so it was a big deal. And he's helped us maintain that designation through multiple review projects to the current time. In 2001, he helped the U of I obtain one of the first 5 National Science Foundation's CyberCore Scholarship for Service Awards, and that provides a full ride scholarship to students for the final 2 years of their bachelor's or master's degree in exchange for their service at a federal agency. That grant has been continuously renewed over the years, and we've graduated more than 100 of those FSF scholars. It's amazing. Dr. Alves Foss has a long and stellar research record with work sponsored by federal agencies, including National Science Foundation, the Department of Defense, and private industry. Most recently, and I really want to visit about this, he led the effort for the Idaho Board of Education's approval for Idaho's first Bachelor of Science degree in cybersecurity. And that's actually being offered for the first time this fall, which is great. So what an amazing record of achievement. Welcome, Jim. We're so glad that you could join us today. I want to start with just a brief COVID check-in. How are you doing, and what's it like being back in the classroom?
I'm doing fine, and I'm not in the classroom.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm actually, most of my students are remote. I'm teaching a graduate level research methods course this semester. And I have students in Saudi Arabia. Actually, I think she's finally making it back to the country this week because of the shutdown of the embassies and everything. It was a hard time for her to get a visa back. So I have students in a lot of different places, and we decided it was just best to maintain that as a distance. So yeah, so I'm camped out in my basement and doing a lot of things.
Similar to Hello Walk, which is great.
Yes, yeah, at least nice pictures here. Yeah, some students really are doing fine, and some are definitely struggling.
Mm-hmm.
I was just talking to one earlier today. She's from India. Her husband went back to India this month because several of their family members ended up being hospitalized due to COVID. And so he's helping with the younger kids. So she says, so I'm all alone for this month. It's hard.
Oh, I bet. Boy, everybody has their own way of dealing with this, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So you have been with us a long time.
Yes.
What brought you to Idaho from California?
They offered me a job. No, it was.
So that's a good start.
So I went to school at the University of California, Davis, and my major professor there, Dr. Carl Levitt, had come from what was then called Stanford Research Institute. It's now just called SRI, and was doing a lot of mathematical modeling of computer security, of computer systems, focusing on computer security. And in the lab was a faculty member, Phil, or another student, Phil Winley, who grew up in Blackfoot, Idaho.
Okay.
He came here as a faculty member, wanted to get back closer to family, and then heavily recruited me to come the next year.
Mhm.
And then 2 years later, he left us to go to BYU, but I stayed.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. Great. Great. So back then, cybersecurity was just an emerging field. I mean, it wasn't like it is today.
it was very important in the Department of Defense
Okay.
and banking, but that was about it. And back then, there was a big push for, everything has to be 100% secure. My major professor was saying, no, as businesses come in, we're going to have to do risk management. We're going to have to look at trade-offs.
Mhm.
Although the internet existed then, the internet as we know it today did not exist then. The first web browser came out a couple of years after I got here.
That kind of
Uh,
blows my mind, but okay.
it was only shortly before I got here did they open up the internet for commercial use. It used to only be government and universities.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
So it wasn't very long after you got here that you co-founded the center. Talk about what the creation of that, what prompted the creation of that, and what was at the beginning, what was the purpose of doing that?
So when I joined the university, I'll back up just a little bit. We had a master's program in computer science, but no PhD program. So I was one of several faculty hired to expand our computer science into a PhD granting
Mhm.
program.
Mhm.
We saw several other units within the college had research centers, which were a good way of consolidating resources.
Sure.
Faculty, instead of onesies and twosies, we could share lab space, we could share staff, we could
Mhm.
uh, collaborate on things. And so we wanted to do one in computer science. Several of us were working on mathematical modeling, formal methods, specifically computer security. So we thought that'd be appropriate. Um, we were fortunate at the time, President Hoover
Yes.
was on the President's Commission for Advisors in Science and Technology, which was trying to focus on cybersecurity across the different universities. And so he was very instrumental in saying, hey, I've got these young people who are young faculty who are doing cybersecurity research. Why don't we help them focus? And so he backed us in putting together the center with a cybersecurity focus as opposed to a more general
Sure.
computer science focus.
Right.
And he was the one who helped us. He helped us get the designation. Um,
Great. So how have things evolved since both in the issues that you're dealing with and the tools that you have to deal with them?
how have they evolved? Oh, I've got a slide where to go. Things have changed so much, so fast. It
Mhm.
is amazing what we see in technology, in computing capabilities. I've got a picture here. This won't be the best image, but this one works. So forget the thing on the side. Whoops, great. If you see here on the image, hopefully everybody can see this. In 2005, Pope Benedict was inaugurated, and this was just outside the Vatican where he was inaugurated. 2013, we had Pope Francis inaugurated. Same place. Look at the difference here.
Oh,
I
wow.
see a cell phone in this picture and maybe one here, and we have a sea of cell phones. And that's because in 2007, the iPhone came out. And even now we got tablets where people taking pictures.
Wow.
Um, that is what we're constantly facing. It's this constant change in technology. It's people deploying new tools, new software. Oh, this would be really great if I had this on my computer, or hey, why don't I put internet on my toaster? And it's like, wait a minute, internet enabled toaster? Why? Why would I want to do that? Internet enabled refrigerators. And so as all these people roll out these devices, this software. Most of them have minimal, if any, training in cybersecurity. They don't realize that they're connecting this device to the internet. Well, there are 4 billion people using the internet right now.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are bad. You know, my neighbor, when I first moved here, never locked their front door. They never, and when they eventually got Wi-Fi, they never locked their Wi-Fi either. But, you know, they would have locked their door if 2 billion people going down the street every day.
Right, right.
You know, and every device that's connected to the internet has all, well, now 4 billion people connected to their devices.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't, just aren't thinking that way when they're looking at these systems and they're deploying these. And so constantly new devices roll out, new software, new tools, as that would be a cool way to share. That would be a cool thing. And we struggle to keep up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh,
So,
Fun and
the,
exciting, changes a lot faster than history does.
yeah, yeah, no fooling, no fooling. Wouldn't you like to be the person who writes the history of cybersecurity? That would be
Maybe
that.
when I retire.
So what that says is we need cybersecurity experts more than ever, it sounds like. And that leads me to ask you to tell me about the new bachelor's degree.
Okay, yeah. So our new bachelor's degree is a computer science focused cyber degree. And I say computer science focused because there are people who do cybersecurity just from the business point of view, policy management, risk management, that stuff. People who do it from the sociology and political science point of view or the legal point of view.
Sure.
Um, Ours is based on how do you write more secure software? How do you analyze the software possible security vulnerabilities? Basically, how do we build better tools for people deploying the next generation systems?
Mm-hmm.
It's a full 4-year degree. And so students will be taking cybersecurity classes starting from day one,
Okay.
along with computer programming courses starting from day one.
Sure.
And we just roll it out, you know, get their feet wet, intro to cyber, intro to secure coding, some of the policy and business management stuff in the first 2 years, get them coding, and then we hit them hard in their junior and senior year,
Sure.
where we, you know, let's go into the depths of networking, how the operating systems work, and how you secure them. And what are the vulnerabilities? What are the attacks? What are the threats? Here are the tools we're currently using. Here's the tools we need to develop in the future.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How much of it is just trying to anticipate what a cyber attacker would do? And I have to say, what's the mindset of someone who's in that business?
So there is a debate there
Okay.
among the community. There are people who fully believe that you need to be in that mindset of that attacker.
Okay.
Uh, Although I understand where they're coming from, I don't necessarily agree.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the example I like to use is when I was 13, I was hit by a car.
Ooh.
It was my fault. I was riding a bicycle in a rainstorm delivering newspapers. I shot out between two bushes, and there was a car going 40 miles an hour. And my front tire of my bicycle kissed the front fender of the car. I was fortunate. Uh, Several years ago, my knee, which was really banged up, and that started acting up, and I kept tripping and falling.
Mm-hmm.
My kids always would stop at the curb. They'd be the only kids in the neighborhood who would stop at the curb when the ball would go out in the street or anything, because they learned by seeing what would go wrong. Now, they didn't know everything that could go wrong with them. They didn't know all the bad things, but they knew enough to stop.
Right.
Take it a step further, my kids knew enough to not talk to strangers.
Right.
Don't take candy from strangers. They didn't need to know every way a bad guy would try to get at them or all the bad things the bad guy would do to them.
Right. Right.
They would just know these are the safe things I can do to protect myself.
Right.
And I think that's where we need to go with this community. Yes, we do need some people to understand how hackers work and what they do, but we need more people to just understand this can happen. Here are the basic things I can do to protect myself, the basic things I can do to make more secure code.
Sure. Sure. Who make the best cybersecurity experts?
People who are willing to think outside the box, people who don't ever say, well, nobody would do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I find I tell, you're probably starting to notice this, but I tell stories, anecdotes all the time. before 9/11,
Right.
we would struggle with talking to people about cybersecurity because they keep saying nobody would do that. After 9/11, to be honest, it was easier, especially defense contractors would go to them, we're talking, they're like, well, nobody would do that. And I said, yeah, nobody would learn to fly a plane just to crash it into a building. Nobody would do that.
Right.
And they're
Right.
like, but they did. Yes.
Yes.
There are billions of people out there. Some of them are bat crazy. You have no idea what they're going to do.
Right.
So don't say nobody's going to do that. Somebody's going to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I got early training actually when I was an undergrad working with a professor of human physiology. There's a term he's called making a system foolproof, right?
Yeah.
Well, with him, it was foolproof. I don't know what he could do, but he'd get within 3 feet of the computer and it would crash. The man was amazingly adept at doing all the wrong things on the computer. So I learned so much by learning, okay, how do you protect yourself from somebody who keeps making mistakes? Brilliant human physiologist couldn't handle the computer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Amazing. Amazing. The stakes are high, though, in cybersecurity. Talk about some of the things that cybersecurity experts protect. It's not just, you know, banking systems,
Well,
which
no,
is
yeah,
big enough. But
banking, critical infrastructure. We don't want our power grid shut down. Um, and people think about those things. Those are the common things. Personal identifiable information. Somebody goes in and gets my credit card number.
right.
Gets that things. But what we're seeing now is people are monetizing cyber
Ooh,
and
uh-huh.
cyber attacks. So talking to our local FBI guy, he says he gets people coming into office who say, my computer was attacked, mom and pop shop,
Right.
small business owner. Right? I have 10 employees. I've got a small computer system. Something came in and they locked our computer screens and says, we have to pay this ransom and it'll unlock our computers or I can't get access to my financial records.
Right.
Okay. Ransomware. What they do is they break into your computer system. They rummage around to find a copy of your insurance files.
Ooh.
They say, are you covered for a ransomware attack? Oh, yes, you're covered up to $100,000. We'll ask you for $100,000. Your insurance covers it. We know you'll pay us because the insurance will cover it. We won't ask you for 250 because then we know we get nothing. But 100, your insurance covers you.
Wow.
And
It's
so they're
that
doing this.
sophisticated. It's
Hmm?
that sophisticated. It's that
It's
sophisticated.
that sophisticated. And it's not hard with people having vulnerable systems out there. And they'll spend time. They're willing to spend days going through your files to find that one thing because it's worth $100,000 to them.
Right.
Oh, and apparently they have really good tech support when you're trying to unlock the computer after you paid. And they'll make sure that you can get the files unlocked. Because if you can't, then you can't tell somebody else, oh, I paid the ransom and I got my files back. Instead, you'd say, I paid the ransom, I got nothing back, and then they won't get their money.
Amazing. Wow.
So, because it's a way of getting resources from you. We've
Yeah.
also heard of cases where they log into the system, they get into somebody's email. So say I pretended to be, the president of a university or president of a small company. You then use that email to email the financial person and say, hey, I need you to transfer money very quickly to this other bank because we got this wonderful deal. We're gonna make lots of money if you do it today. And the people, oh, the boss said to do this, I'll do it. They don't pick up the phone and call the boss and say, you want me to transfer, $1 million over to this bank? What's going on?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
we've seen millions of dollars have been lost that way. And it's from small businesses. It's from big businesses. They don't care as long as they get the money.
Right.
And they actually think the small businesses are not checking as often. So, hey, I can get you for 10,000, you for 100,000, you for 50,000. I made a good week.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So what are some of the red flags? I mean, if I got an email from the president, I think I would pick up the phone, but what are the red flags that people should look for?
Things that are not reasonable,
Mm-hmm.
things that are, well, that sounds too good to be true. Probably is.
Okay.
These are cons.
Right.
Uh, emails that come through with spelling errors. Um, that's very common. Bad grammar.
Right.
Uh, when you see there's a link to click, if you just hover your mouse over the link and not click it, it shows the actual, you know, uh, address of where it's going to. If that doesn't match, that's a red flag. And so, this is very common things in email. In software in general, though, it won't say a red flag, but good thing is update your systems. It's gotten better. Microsoft does automatic updates now on the
Right.
systems, and a lot of other tools. I mean, it used to be you had to buy an update from Microsoft back in the 90s.
Mhm.
Now they're free. If you keep things up to date, that really helps.
Sure. Sure. Jim, talk a little bit about the faculty in the cybersecurity degree program. I know you've got a great team over there.
Yeah, we have a team we really enjoy. Let's see. I can actually show them to you. So we've got Dr. Daniel Conte de Leon. Actually, that's an older picture. He looks older than that now. But his area of expertise is in systems. He does a lot in the industrial control systems, a lot with the power grid people.
Mhm.
And so he's up here on the Moscow campus. Dr. Jia Song, she's been with us for a couple years as a faculty member. She does more software security, software analysis.
Okay.
Michael Haney, he's down in Idaho Falls. He's a systems guy. He's developing a lot of labs. He works half-time with the Idaho National Lab. He's actually just been appointed now to help coordinate the governor with the state legislature, put together an initiative. They want to have a joint cybersecurity degree offerings, course offerings across all the different universities in the state of Idaho.
Right.
And he's coordinating that for the state. Kostas Kolias or Konstantinos Kolias, he's also down in Idaho Falls. He's a network security faculty member. Frederick Sheldon, he's again more systems. He came to us from from Oak Ridge National Lab,
Mhm.
and he's now up in Coeur d'Alene.
Okay.
Myself, software security systems. We also have a lot of other just computer science faculty in that support the cybersecurity program.
Perfect.
And then we also have electrical engineering faculty who do a lot of stuff in power grid security. We've worked some with sociologists. We actually got some money from the state to hire a sociologist because engineers don't necessarily do well with people. And, we just assume, people will figure out how to use it and that tool will be just fine for them. And so the idea with the engineers or the sociologists is this really reasonable for the
Yeah.
average user to do that type of thing?
Almost a liaison role.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So, talk about the scholarship for service. That's been so successful for University of Idaho over the years.
Yeah. So the Scholarship for Service program, it basically it is what it is. It sounds like
Yeah.
the government provides funding for the students to go to school for 2 years, their last 2 years as their bachelor, finish it off, as long as they work the summer between their junior and senior year at a federal agency. And then for each year they receive the scholarship, which is usually 2. They go and work for 2 years for the government in a federal agency doing something cyber related.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, the scholarship for an undergrad is full tuition and fees paid and a $25,000 a year stipend
Nice.
and whatever money they get paid for during their internship.
Wow.
And for grad students, it's like 32,000 a year.
Wow.
So great scholarship. And when they tell me they don't have money, I say, how do you not have money? I wish I had that much money as an undergrad. But they have to go work for the federal agencies. We have them at the Federal Reserve Board. We have some at the national labs, our alumni, National Security Agency, the State Department.
Mm-hmm.
Some have gone to work for the state or local organizations. We had one, I like to tell this story. So when we first started the program, we were actually working with the College of Business, and they had a forensic accounting program. And we trained them up in cybersecurity in conjunction with what they did there. one of our students went on her summer internship to work for the NSA, and this is about 2004, 2005 timeframe.
Sure.
And they trained her up on all the tools they were using and everything, and then told her go at it, whatever she was doing. She says a week later, she came back to her boss and said, "We're seeing something awkward here. These numbers don't look right." And he's like, "Little lady, my guys know the numbers. They know the bits on the wire. They know their network data. Those numbers are right." And she said, "Oh, no, I'm not saying the numbers aren't what they claim to be. I mean, they're getting the right numbers, but this says this is this type of financial transaction, and that's not the way these work." So long story short, by the end of the summer, they had arrested a group that was funneling money to a terrorist organization, and she got a job offer.
I bet she did.
And he said,
That's a great story.
and he went to his boss and said, "We need to hire more accountants because my computer guys don't understand accounting, but they can get the data." So
the combination was really powerful.
yeah, and that's why we had partnered with it. Unfortunately, the faculty who were doing that all left the University of Idaho, and so we stopped doing that partnering.
Sure, but it sounds like our students are in demand, and they can go a lot of different places with the training that they get.
Oh yes, I think one of our students last year or 2 years ago had 20 different job offers. So they're great offers, great opportunities, doing lots of different things. Most of them go into a classified position. So with a scholarship for service, all the students most of them have to get security clearances. So they're all U.S. citizens.
Right.
We do a preliminary criminal background check on them before they get the scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them go off, like I said, they get classified positions, security clearances, and can't tell us what they do.
Right.
They just say, "I did some really interesting stuff. Thank you." "Oh, what did you do?" "It was interesting stuff."
I love it. I love it. So I know that our listeners have questions for you, Jim. So I'm going to turn it over to Sandy or Christy, and let's work our way through those.
Okay.
The first one I have is Norton just discontinued the protections they had for their router. I have protection for all my devices and I have a good password for the router. But is there something else people need to do in order to protect their routers?
So fortunately, a lot of the modern routers come out with good protections. You want to make sure the router is set up that you're not receiving outside connections to your system, which is the default. For a lot of them, it's you don't open up ports, you don't open up services, because most things, your inside router, all you're doing is connecting to the outside world. I'm not running a server in my house where people need to connect to. So I bought a new router and I was looking at the log for it, and I was able to see scans of my router, seeing what ports were open, what things were going within minutes of it being installed. And this is just continuous. Yeah, not using the default password, updating the firmware on the router, and using the default security configurations is really the best things. And the industry pushed, or the cybersecurity community really pushed the industry to shut down things. Don't make the default open up, because 99% of the people out there don't want to do that. They don't need to. Yeah, it's the companies, Norton discontinuing it. I'm assuming they just feel there wasn't a business model for it, and that's part of the problem.
Okay. Another question. We hear a lot about other countries hacking U.S. government agencies like the defense. How serious is this?
Worse than they want to admit. I know a couple years, well, this was now several years ago, there was an attack against our unclassified government systems, but they basically China had downloaded gigabytes of data from our systems. And we knew that because then they started, after they did all the download, they started posting select pieces of it up on one of their websites they knew we monitored to let us know they got it. It was never detected. They downloaded all this data, all this traffic of all this stuff from all our unclassified systems, and we never saw it. And they don't even, at the time, they didn't know how they did it. They may have figured it out later. That's probably classified. My contacts with the government basically says the vulnerabilities in our systems are classified because we don't want those leaking out to our adversaries. The biggest problem is, we have people who, I want to use the tools I'm used to using at home in the government. We have vendors who aren't held liable for software that's not secure. So I remember back about the time I started here, so early 90s, there was an error in the Intel 386 processor, a divide by 3 error. So people's spreadsheets, if they did a division by 3 in a certain mode, would get the wrong answer. People were furious. This would upset banking and business. There was a quick, easy software fix for it, but people didn't want anything to do with that. They sent processors back, or got new processors from Intel, swapped them out on their machines, sent them back, and it was a big deal. At the same time, Windows was blue screening all the time and crashing, and nobody sent a copy of Windows back saying, fix this for me. Because for some reason, software doesn't have the same requirements as hardware liability. We're not going to Microsoft and said, you let them get into my system and I lost my business. You're at fault.
Right.
Where if I had a security alarm or a lock that was violated, that easily picked the lock to get in the system, I could go to the company and said, you sold me a piece of crap. Let me fix it. But apparently we're not there yet with software. We're getting there. And that's the biggest problem. And then in government, like I said, people want to do things that makes it easier for them. They want to use the modern tools, and they have no idea about the security of the tools. Half the people out there writing software don't have a computer science degree, let alone cybersecurity education. They don't know what all the just easy ways to fix the software are. So it makes it hard to sleep at night sometimes.
Jim, I have a follow-up question. Is the United States the biggest target for hackers?
I can't say yes,
Okay.
but I really, really don't know. I mean, everybody's a target. We're rich. That makes us more of a target. We are also, we're the big guys on the block. So to be able to say, hey, I got to the US.
Oh, so it's an accomplishment if you actually do. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Bragging rights. Wow. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean
No.
But Sandy or Christy have another one?
Yes. I'm going to go. What efforts are happening to get our young people K through 12 get excited about being a cybersecurity expert and maybe enrolling in our program here at the U of I?
I'm sorry, I missed a little bit of that.
So what efforts are happening in the K through 12 area for our students about getting them excited about cybersecurity?
Well, so one thing, for example, is Michael Haney has been running these summer camps in cybersecurity for K-12 students. We had run a couple ourselves. There are also coding camps, other things, just to get them excited about computers in general. So yeah, we're doing different outreach, a lot of summer camps, or just outreach to the instructors themselves. We have a training program in the computer science department where we've trained teachers who teach computer science in the high schools. And so get them excited about computing and everything, and then trickles down some of the cyber aspects there too.
Yeah, that's great.
Is it a pretty competitive, do you have trouble attracting students and faculty, Jim, or is it?
Faculty is much harder than students.
And why is that?
Because they're in great demand. And there's not a lot of programs out there still putting out PhDs, because my students with a master's can get a really good job in cyber. Why spend extra time getting a PhD to get 1/3 the pay at a university?
Good point.
Good point.
That's a good point.
It's yeah, I could be earning a whole lot more money in industry myself, and a lot of us could. All of us could who are in the cyber field. I'm here for a different reason, and we do get those who are there. But yeah, I was at a conference that somebody asked, how many of you are searching for cybersecurity faculty? This was last year. Every single group raised their hand. One's like, we're hiring 5, we're hiring 3, we're hiring, and we're not graduating that many. Now we're doing a lot more than when I came out. In 91, Eugene Spafford, who's a faculty member at Purdue, did a survey of all the universities trying to PhD granting computer science department, saying how many graduates, somebody who you can truly say their PhD was focused on cyber.
Mm-hmm.
In the 2 years, the year before I graduated and the year I graduated, the total was 12.
Oh my gosh. A few more than that now.
And 4 of them, actually, no, excuse me, it was 24 and 8 went into academia and the other 16 went into industry. Of the 8 that went into academia, 2 came to U of I.
Nice.
One was Dr. Deborah Franke. She came after I did. She had stayed at UC Davis to do a postdoc before coming here. Then she moved on. Just a little story about her because she's a good friend. You know, she was here, helped co-found the center, went to Pacific Northwest Lab as chief scientist of cybersecurity, then went to National Security Agency as deputy director for cybersecurity research, then ran their crypto school for a couple of years, then became director of cybersecurity research, actually of research at NSA for several years. And just this last year now, she stepped out and went to Oak Ridge National Lab as a cybersecurity, probably director of their program.
What
So
an amazing.
I had good company.
Yeah, no fooling. No fooling.
But yeah, there were very few. We're now, now it's a lot more than that, but it's still probably less than 100 a year. There's over 1,000 PhDs in computer science a year from the United States, and less than 100 are doing cyber. More are doing data science or artificial intelligence.
Sure.
Jim, sorry, Kathy.
I was just gonna say, what other questions do we have?
One of the questions I have is how many SFS are granted each semester / year, and what would set someone apart from that was applying?
So the program, we maintained between 12 and 15 students in the program per year. Some are 2 years, some are 3-year students. And so we replace them as they leave. So I think this year, we had 4 new ones this fall. So it's selective. And we have to renew every year. So we need to go for renewal next year, or next fall will be our last batch, but we'll try that. They try to spread it out. There's like 60 schools now who do this. So they try to spread it out and have each school take 5 to 10 new students a year-ish, closer to the 5, because it is expensive. Our current grant is what, a 5-year grant for $4 million. Yeah. Because they give a little money to help pay for the faculty to do stuff, plus the student travel. And of course their tuition and fees. That's almost all the money, tuition and fees and stipends. We want students with good GPAs, who are hard workers, who are honest and trustworthy, and who actually have an interest in helping people. Their goal on their degree is not to make a bunch of money, but to make the world a better place for people. And to be honest, I see a lot of that in this region. I talk to people who are in the big cities and stuff who say, we have a hard time recruiting students. I said, you got all those people. Why? They said, well, they just want to go off into banking and make money or something. I said, no, I hate to say it because it sounds glib, but we have a lot of patriots in this area. We have students who really want to help, who want to help the nation, help other people. And so it's been pretty easy. And a lot of them are still, years later, still in government. There are others who, go out after their 2 or 3 year commitment and go into industry. I know one who did that and went back to government because she said it was much more enjoyable doing the government work than just fighting to make the next buck. So we look for that. We also, we do, the process is very interactive. We talk to the students even before they apply, find out something about them, talk to them about the program. When they apply, we go through their paperwork. We also interview them because we just want to see, are they a good fit with the students, good fit with the faculty? Are their interests aligned with what the government wants? And so we've been very good. We've had very few students not be successful by the end of the program. Early on in the program, as we were figuring it out, is more where we had the problems. The only ones we've had issues with now are ones with medical problems at the end, or something in life that happened. So we have one of the highest go-on rates. They look at the different schools and how many of your students actually went and satisfied the commitment. If they don't satisfy the commitment, they have to pay back the government all the money.
Ouch.
We did have one student in like 2004, 2005 do that because the company that wanted to offer money said, we'll pay for it for you.
Oh my gosh.
You know, so he said, well, hey, they're paying off my debt. I don't care.
Yeah. No fool. We've got time for a couple more questions, and this has been the fastest 45 minutes I think I've ever spent.
I have one. If you notice an item that you didn't purchase comes up on your Amazon account, has someone hacked your Amazon account or your credit card account or both?
Okay, if it shows up actually on Amazon, it would have been the Amazon account. If it shows up on your credit card, that's something different. And it happens to everybody. You need to look at that. It depends on how good your bank is with the credit card company. I set up alerts on my account, and because for years there, every time I went through the Washington, D.C. for travel, my credit card would get stolen. And it was probably somebody with a scanner, as when the credit cards get their RFID chips.
Mm-hmm.
Those can be scanned from a distance. My wallet is RFID protected. Yeah, it's invisible. You can't even see it now. But it's RFID protected, so people can't scan. But it's like one time I got a call from the credit card company. It's like, were you just visiting a couple of restaurants in Tehran?
Oh,
I was
boy.
like, no, I've never been to Tehran. Or then a call, did you just order these boots? It looks like it was from this place in Australia. And it's like, no. So, but other times, look at your monthly statement, see what it is. The credit card companies are very good at working with you usually, and so is Amazon actually. But it's easy. So let me talk about the online accounts. Amazon's not one that can do this that I know of yet. Your bank and other things. If your access to an online bank is just through a password, it's hackable. Somebody can find that password. If you use what they call two-factor authentication, where you go to the website to log in, and then it says, we're going to text you a code on your phone. Now they have to have access to your phone as well as your password. So even if they have the password, they're not getting in. The Democrats needed this 4 years ago. Leon Podesta's account was hacked because he didn't have two-factor authentication. The DNC's emails were hacked because they didn't do two-factor authentication. Would have saved them a lot of grief. A lot of those things where I was talking about the CEO email scams are because they don't do this. Yes, it's a little more annoying because I have to make sure I have my phone with me when I'm logging into the website, but my cell phone's never that far from me.
Right.
The biggest problem I've had when I leave it at home and go to work. But that is one of the best ways to protect yourself, because now they have to have access to responding to a text to your phone.
We have time for one more question. Sandy, Christy, what do you got?
I have another. This is kind of another online shopping retail type question. When they added a chip to credit cards, that was to make them more secure when you use them at a retail store. However, I've heard that when you use your credit card for an online order from your computer, it isn't protected. Is that true? And if so, how do you make online shopping more secure?
So there are protections they have for the online shopping. There's a whole issue they go through. The biggest thing, and it's improved over time. The question is, what is the vendor doing with your credit card number? You've basically handed them the card number. Are they keeping it? Now, on each card is that security code, the 3 or 4 digit security code that they often will have you enter in. They're not supposed to keep that on their systems. Their systems are supposed to be audited by the credit card company. It says, okay, we're allowing you to use credit cards on our website. Therefore, on your website, we're going to audit you and make sure you do it right. But often they'll store those credit cards. And the analogy I like to tell people is like, They set up this online website on a computer, and they keep track of all the credit cards and everything on the same computer. And they do their purchasing and stuff, and they check it once a week. Well, that's like taking the cash register from your store, put it out on the sidewalk, and check it once a week.
Mm.
You know, there are ways of doing this where they can separate things, where they say, we're going to keep the credit card information, all that on a completely separate computer. But usually they don't. They do multiple things on that computer, and that's where people get hacked. They get into that one computer. Oh, I now see your whole database of your customers. It's all completely unprotected. I have their addresses. I have their credit card numbers. I have their phone numbers. I'm good to go.
Wow. Jim, I have one last question. I know I keep saying this, but I do. So what scares you most about what's possible in the cyber environment right now?
Okay, I'll give you a scenario that we've talked about in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So the US government, our politicians are trying to save us money. So they keep going and say, you got to buy commercial off-the-shelf products. You know, like, you're not going to buy that $900 hammer or that $1,000 toilet seat type of thing.
Sure.
And I understand that. But they say, you just got to buy commercial off-the-shelf products. So just imagine Pacific Fleet says we need to order a bunch of new terminals for our land-based bases, that we have overseas. We go out, we go open bid. Dell or some company wins the bid, so they're going to ship all these computers and monitors over there. Well, Dell goes out and buys all these things from China. July 5th, 2022, all of a sudden, all the monitors in the Pacific Fleet go black for 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
They turn back on, and China's in Taiwan. They have that capability. They have the ability of inserting these Trojans in the software and these products and just spreading it throughout our infrastructure,
Mm-hmm.
on the routers, on the computers, on the desktops, and just sitting there waiting until a time to send a particular signal and shut everything down.
Mm.
And, they can even do mini queries and say, oh, you're in the right place. You're the computer I want to send the signal to. I'll talk to you later. That scares me.
Sure.
That's number one.
Okay.
Number two is just doing things to have people lose confidence in their government, the infrastructure, the election.
Mm-hmm. That's a big one right now.
If we can do things enough to just have people lose faith, then we hurt democracy and we hurt our economy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, the only thing with China, it's like people say, well, China could come in and shut our economy down. We're their biggest customer. You don't hurt your biggest customer that much. Yeah. They can play games with us, but they're not going to shut us down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so worried about them doing this, to be honest. Taiwan would be a different story.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that people say doomsday scenarios I'm not as worried about, but I'm worried about the things that just, hurt everyday people.
Right. God, what a great conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jim. What a great conversation, and what a great asset you are for our university. I just want to say thank you for being here. Both
thank you.
As a Vandal and an American. I'm just feeling really patriotic now. Thank you.
I want to share one more thing, because this was just fun for me. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll do this real quick. Back in 2014, DARPA put on a competition, and the gentleman here in the middle, Mike Walker, he's one of those guys who believes you have to hack to win. Set up this competition. They funded 7 organizations to compete, but then opened it up to the world.
Sure.
And said, hey, can you make tools that'll automatically improve the security of our systems? So they had 105 teams sign up in 2014. In 2015, they had the first round competition, and 7 teams made it to the final. So we had this team, and they called themselves Deep Red. They're part of Raytheon Corporation. This team was University of Virginia working with Grammatech Corporation. This team was a spin-off. Let's see, this is UC Santa Barbara. They had been doing this type of competition manually for years and had developed a lot of tools. This guy, PhD student on the right, a brilliant guy, now a faculty member at Arizona State. Let's see. This team, which team was this one? I don't know which team this one was. We had a team that was Georgia Tech. I think I had a duplicate picture. That's part of my problem here. We had a team from UC Berkeley. This team was Georgia Tech. And then we had our 2-person team from the University of Idaho as one of the top 7.
Wow, that's
Okay.
amazing.
And Dr. Song here was my PhD student when I started playing with this in 2014. Summer 2014, we're visiting my in-laws. We're sitting in their living room. I download the stuff. I'm playing on my computer with it. My wife comes in and said, "Are you working? We're visiting my parents." And I don't know if this is true, but I remember it this way, saying, "Well, your dad's watching golf. Your mom wants to shop. I'll just go do this." And my family says I never put the computer down for 2 years. But we made it into the finals as a team built from scratch, starting there, tools to automatically analyze systems for vulnerabilities and patch them without knowing anything about it, Devin. So like I said, she was a faculty PhD student at the time, became a postdoc with us to work on this project. Then we hired her as research faculty and eventually as staff.
Right.
So
Wonderful.
it was fun. It was exciting.
What a great moment. Yeah,
It was great. It was tiring. It was really, really tiring.
I bet. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now
we have good people here. We know how to do what we're doing. So,
well, talent attracts talent is what I've heard. So thank you for being here. So now before we close, let's see who won our drawing. And thank our sponsor again, Payne West Insurance. They've been just awesome. We've linked arms with them on a number of activities. I want to thank them. So, and the winner is, I would do a drum roll, but I don't have a drum.
Sandy.
Sandy?
The winner is Larissa LeBoul, if I said that
Yay,
correctly.
Larissa.
And it looks like you might know her. So.
yes.
So
Okay.
Larissa, we'll get that card to you, and happy shopping at the Vandal store. So thank you all for another great edition of Cup of Joe. Happy Cybersecurity Month. And as always, go Vandals.
Go Vandals. And if you all want to watch that marching band video, it is on the alumni page on Facebook.
Okay, great.
And if we didn't get to your questions, we've copied them all down and we will get you answers. So
Yes.
sorry we didn't get to everybody's, but I have them all logged. So
Like I said, that's the fastest 45 minutes I think I've ever
Yes,
been through.
for sure.
Thank you so much, Jim.
All right,
All
thanks.
right.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.